Greetings, I am Toglin, Hell's Harlequin, but you may call me Tog. So, you get to see me in the flesh. Isn't that exciting? Hopefully I worked out my audio issues from live recording, because the last video was a bit of a nightmare. I uploaded it anyways, just because took so long recording it in the first place. Though now you guys can see how fidgety I am. But I figured I have a webcam, and I might as well use it. And it's just so much quicker to do it this way than to endlessly, try and do audio recordings and put in animation and all that kind of stuff. Although, now you can also see that I touch my face a lot. That's probably one of the reasons why I have my avatar touch her face all the time, too, is it's a habit of mine. But yeah, so a lot of the real cray-cray crazies, I wasn't sure if I was going to say cray-cray or crazy, so I ended up saying both of them. Whoops! Are now on TikTok rather than YouTube. So, that's fun. I was reluctant to get a TikTok because, the Chinese stealing your information and all that jazz. But now, you can just watch my channel and the Chinese can just steal my information, not yours. But, plus, they're only, 3-minute upload time is a little ridiculous. I like being able... Most of my videos are only around 3 minutes, though. But I like being able to have longer videos if I want to. And this is going to be my first true reaction video. I'm going to try and click on videos I haven't seen before. May or may not be successful because sometimes I like watching reaction videos and I may have seen these in another reaction video. But you are going to watch me, to the best ability, legitimately react to these because I have not seen these before. If there's copyrighted music or if it's just not that interesting, I'll click off and pick a different video.
For those who follow and support me, this is simply a one-time response to this creator. I am not opening a dialogue with her. I have one message to give to her and I hope she listens and takes it in. But this is not me starting a dialogue. Thank you. The following clips contain disturbing instances of fat phobia. Viewer discretion is advised.
Did I go from this?
Picture from before my ED, terrible bonding, and it's constantly...
Okay, I'm gonna pick a different one just because I don't know if I want to, watch another cringe compilation. I just don't think I have much to say about drama that I don't know anything about.
I can always identify someone who doesn't have a great grasp on history if they see medicalization as a stamp of inherent virtue. This comes up a lot when I talk about how the word obese is a slur, at least.
I've actually seen this video covered by other creators talking to her, but this is, I guess, my first time seeing the video without interruptions. So that's fun. But no, obese is not a slur. It's not. It's something very specific. One of the reasons why retarded is a slur is because it never really meant all that much. It was more of a catch-all term for anything they didn't really know, and it seemed like there was some sort of mental impairment where it's like, I don't know, he just got bad brain. That's what that meant. It didn't really mean much. You know what I mean? Like, there was not... Therefore, it did not have very good diagnosis potential. So therefore it could be boiled down to a slur, but we know what obese means. We know the health risks associated with it. It's a very obvious and specific diagnosis. Like, we know what it is.
One person will always pop their head out of the ground to say, obese is a medical term, as if that somehow makes it better. You know what else used to be a medical term? Like a lot of bad shit we don't say anymore, because we realized it was stigmatizing as fuck and it actively harmed people. You can Google them, I'm not going to say them here. Science and language are both constantly evolving and updating. The medical establishment is not exempt from this. If anything, it's actually a particularly strong example of how this happens. We don't need to look too...
But you would need to actually show some sort of evidence against why obesity is a slur and not a condition, because we know what kind of like health risk it puts you in. It's like saying someone who smokes cigarettes is a smoker and smoker is a slur. You know, because it's frowned upon. But that is, you are doing something unhealthy. You're smoking cigarettes. So when people are like, smoker, you smell gross, you smell like a smoker, well, I guess that is more of a slur, but it means something. Obesity means something. As I said, retarded isn't a term we use anymore, and it's just a slur because it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Or it means, like, you can retard a fire, and there's retardation of, or stunting of trees and stuff. I think that there is still some, like, language, like, some ways to use that in the English language, but I'm not a language major. But anyways.
Far back into history at all to see how medical terminology and practices change. For example, homosexuality is no longer diagnosed as a mental illness. Female hysteria is not something that's diagnosed anymore. Cocaine.
But female hysteria did actually, one of the reasons is, so female hysteria is interesting because we still have some symptoms of hysteria in histrionic personality disorder, which not just women can suffer from it. It's just like the word retarded, it didn't mean much. It was too vague. And the treatment of hysteria was the doctor, you know, getting you off with a vibrator. In fact, that's why vibrators were even invented. Fun fact. So I bet you a lot of ladies claim to have hysteria. Like, oh, no, take me to the doctor. I'm in hysterics again.
And heroin are no longer prescribed as anesthetics or cough suppressants.
Okay, but cocaine is still used as an anesthetic, like not an anesthetic, but it's still used as numbing. What do you think Novocaine is made after? There are definitely still, we have refined these drugs to make them more applicable for modern day usage. Those were just sort of old school techniques and we know better. The thing is, have you brought any real evidence to the table to show that we should know better than to say that obesity is a term? Are you saying it's too broad? Because it seems very specific. It is someone whose whose body weight is over a certain amount. You could argue that obesity should only mean body fat rather than body weight, but there's also some issues dealing with that concept in itself, because you know that muscle and fat both have a high cardiac load. Muscle doesn't have the taxation of the body, like, it doesn't have the same hormonal taxation that fat would. As in, I do not believe it gives you at a higher risk of diabetes and such, and cancers, but I do know that muscle has a higher cardiac load than fat. So even being over muscular, if you take it to an extreme, isn't healthy. Bodybuilders are not healthy. So being too heavy isn't healthy, because your knees do not know the difference between muscle and fat. If you were a normal size and you walked around with like a 50-pound backpack everywhere, your knees would hate you for it. Like, even if you did like a weight vest where it's more distributed, your knees would still hate you for it. And that's not even having any of the cardiac load on you. Your knees cannot handle that extra weight for your entire life. So no matter how you boil it down, being too heavy is unhealthy.
Lysol cleaning spray is no longer used as a douche. We don't perform ice pick lobotomies anymore. And doctors no longer advocate for the health benefits of smoking cigarettes. Oops. More importantly, when a marginalized group tells you that a word or practice harms them, you can just...
Okay, so I don't think many doctors actually advocated for the health benefit of smoking cigarettes. I only think doctors that were paid by the tobacco industry did that. It was, even back then, people knew the health risks. people like to sort of like make people of the past seem even like they like to paint the past with a bad lens, because you know that we've even predicted the dangers of obesity way back during the I think it was even during the time of the Renaissance and such. Well, during the Enlightenment, people started realizing that city life was leading to obesity, and that people even back then were concerned about civilization spreading and people getting to, at least they were worried about this for more people who weren't rural, for urban people getting too much of like bellies and spreads and stuff like that. And even in ancient cultures, they've mentioned that the wealthy overindulge. The Greeks were even obsessed with keeping fit. So we have always known that obesity wasn't so healthy. And like I said, I think most doctors, even back in the time, didn't advocate for the health advantages of smoking. I think that the ones that did sort of did oh, it'll help relax you. Maybe that's better than the possible cancer, right? They were all just paid off by the tobacco industry. It's not like it was a mainstream medical idea.
Go ahead and believe them. I can always identify the idea that fat people are promoting obesity is nonsense. Promoting obesity is not a real thing, and it never has been. There are no multi-million-dollar marketing campaigns telling thin people to get fat quick.
So, okay, that's interesting though, because she was just complaining about how we don't look at things of the past. I remember seeing a list of vintage ads that would never fly today, and there was a bunch of ads from the 1950s talking about how no man likes a skinny chick. He'll be repulsed by you. Gain 15 to 20 pounds in as little as a month. You know, like these are healthy weight gain supplements and such like that. There's always been... This was back when more of the population was thinner. And this was during the age of like Marilyn Monroe and the pinup girls and such. And we kind of wanted girls to be a little bit more voluptuous. And when I say voluptuous, I mean voluptuous, not what we call voluptuous now, which is more of a beach ball with maybe some lumpies. That is not voluptuous. This is voluptuous. Why do they have to take every word? Like voluptuous used to mean that you were hourglass shaped. Now it means you're fat. Curvy used to mean you're hourglass shape. Now it means you're fat. Thick used to mean you got a small waist but thick thighs. Now it means you're fat. Can women who are not thin but not fat but have curves in the right places, well, why are they not allowed a word? Every time they come up with a word, it's stolen. Quit stealing words from like hourglass shaped ladies. Thank you.
Or a $72.7 billion weight gain industry in the United States alone. Or government.
Okay, so like when we're looking at industries, $72 billion really isn't that much. Like, I would wager that's probably less than what like McDonald's makes a year, like McDonald's alone. I don't know. This is a reaction video. I'm not going to look it up. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But, oh, I'm fidgeting again. I apologize. But yeah, they seem to act like that's a lot. And what counts as even the diet industry? Are we counting like old gyms? Because that's more of a wellness thing. Like, or are we counting just simply fad diets? Because I would like to know what makes up this $72 billion. Because if it's just any diet products, probably most of that's diet soda. But I don't know. I would actually love to see what they're counting in the weight loss industry and how much other sort of like industries it's eating up, or is it just the fad diet industry?
Funded initiatives aimed at eliminating the existence of thin people, or messages to thin people that if they can never be fat, then their life isn't worth living. But
No reasonable person is telling fat people to kill themselves. Like, sure, there's a lot of bullies and trolls and, like, horrible people out there because I say, don't bully fat people. You're not doing anything. Like, bullying fat people is more likely than not going to help them lose weight. You're just going to make them depressed. I remember when I was younger, I would have been 13 years old and about 160 pounds, which, yes, I know that's really big for a 13-year-old, but I remember, like, kids used to make fun of me because I'm, like, slightly on the autism spectrum, so I'm weird, and I was fat, and all of that jazz. And so I didn't have many friends, but one day my mom went ahead and paid for me to go to a more fancy salon, which this was my first time really going to more of a fancy salon, and I got pampered and got my hair done, and the hairdressers were telling me how cute I looked, and I just felt so good about myself that day. I left the salon, I was going for a walk, and this truck drove by, and they threw a can at me and yelled out, "Hey, fatty, haven't you ever heard of Slim Fast?" And that just crushed me. Do you think that really made me want to lose weight? No, that really didn't help at all. All it just, like, contributed to was my neurotic and disordered eating later in life, which, if you want to hear about that, I might. It just depends on if you're interested or not. We could discuss that in a future video. But anyways,
All of those things do exist in reverse for fat people. The entire concept of promoting obesity is a myth that's used to silence fat people when we advocate for the basic human rights we're so often denied, like equal access to health insurance, life insurance, medical care, employment, education, travel, clothing, or just basic happiness and freedom from living in shame and abuse.
I think health insurance, that's only really applicable in the US, because I think everybody else has socialized medicine. Which, interesting enough, I think, like, doesn't obesity related costs take up the majority of Medicaid as it is? Because if you, like, eat yourself into disability, then the government pays for you as it is. And it really depends on the job you're wanting. If you're obese, there's just some jobs you just cannot do. Because can a 600-pound person move freight for 9 hours a day? Can they? Most likely not. Maybe someone can prove me wrong, but most likely not. And I do think that people do need to be nicer to fat people, because, like I said, being mean, you're not doing them or anyone any favors. You're just justifying being a jerk.
Only things we are promoting are kindness, respect, and equality. Fat people have always deserved equal rights and ethical treatment. The only difference is that now we're saying that out loud. The idea that
This is a PSA for the skinnies. For the skinny bitches.
Well, this is not for me then. I ain't no skinny bitch. I'm beefy. Ugh.
You're shopping, you take your size small and medium and go put it in the plus size to hide it and save it for yourself for later. You can fuck all the way off. Like, honestly, it's so freaking rude. I don't think you guys have no idea.
Do people do that, or do they just say, "Oh, I want this. Oh, no, I don't want this." Like, they see something else they want and they just put it back on the rack. That's more of what I'm thinking is happening. Maybe that happens. I don't know, but I've worked at retail stores, and usually everything gets all mixed up because customers don't care where they put it back. In fact, you're lucky if they put them back on the racks and they don't just throw them on the floor.
Like, how slim pickings we already have as, like, fat and plus size people. All we can pick is shitty, ugly animal print and floral patterns. That's the shit we have to pick from. So when you put a really cute item and we're, like, so stoked about it, you pull the freaking item out and then you realize, oh, this is a XS. You have no idea how defeating that is. So please, on behalf of all the fat bitches who want to wear cute shit but can't, don't put your shit there.
I have issues where I see something really cute and it's either way too big or way too small. That's what really sucks about being average. I am like the average, like, not just the average woman's size. I'm actually the most commonly sold size in America, which isn't the same as average, because average, obviously, since everyone's freaking fat nowadays, the really obese people have, like, pushed the average up to, I think, a size 16 now. I'm still the most commonly sold size because, I think 10s and 12s are the two most commonly sold size as opposed to the average. There's a difference.
I'm fat, but big deal.
Okay.
I'm truly loving how the fat acceptance movement allows people to grow, because it's not only teaching people...
Is that a pun? It truly allows people to grow. That sounds like something somebody would make fun of you with.
that health and body size are not direct corollaries, which is true, but also the bigger point, which is that health is not a requirement for people to be deserving of respect or equality. We hear this issue come up all the time in conversations around fatness where people say things like, well, so long as you're healthy, which is basically to say that if a fat person does not have the privilege of health, then they deserve abuse and discrimination, whereas Okay,
no, that's not what they're saying. You are, like, twisting things up in a weird way. Where as long as you're healthy, it does not mean if you're unhealthy, we're gonna hate you forever. Damn you and developing a chronic disease. Like, oh, I hate you. You take 8 medications a day just to live. Damn you and your AIDS. You know, it's just so dumb. It's not that we hate people for being unhealthy. It's a warning. We say it's more of like people who are concerned about you and actually like you are like, well, as long as you're healthy, as in, I wish for you to eat healthy. I wish for you to be healthy because then you can be in my life longer because I care about you. It's not that they're trying to be jerks. They're trying to be nice. What is wrong with you?
healthy fat person don't, which is just nonsense. Understanding this is important because it's extremely tempting in the face of prejudice to cling to the health that we experience and try to present it as a representation of our moral value.
Is it just me, or does she not talk human? Is it kind of like, she says so many things that mean nothing. I don't know, it's hard to put. It's like, if she spoke plainly, then her arguments wouldn't make any sense. It's like doublethink or word speak. Newspeak. That's the word I was looking for. Where you just kind of like change the language in a way that better suits what you're trying to say. It's just so that you can make a point without making a point. It's just very strange, because it's just always weird to me when people talk like that, because you wouldn't really talk to another human being like that, although I have met people who do, and there's always something kind of like pompous about it, where I always end up wanting to punch them in the face. And I'm not a very violent person. It's just, it sort of talks down to you, and it's sort of like pseudo-intellectual. It's all just a bunch of pseudo-intellectual navel-gazing.
In an attempt to try to alleviate some of the pain that fat phobia brings. But when we do that, we are unintentionally, or sometimes intentionally, taking fat people who do not experience health and throwing them under the bus.
It's just dumb. Because obviously there's people who are unhealthy because they're fat. And then there's people who became fat because they're unhealthy, because obviously some treatments are hormonally based, so the person may have known how to eat and take care of their weight before they were put on a hormone based medication. And I'm not saying that's an excuse to stay fat, but it's definitely a reason why someone might get fat, because that happens quite often. Then you have to relearn how to budget your calories and such like that now that you have screwed up your hormones, which may or may not be something you can handle, because I'm pretty sure more people would rather be chunky than dead, depending on the medication. But I know that almost anyone is capable of taking care of their weight more than what they say. I actually have a friend who has this really rare disorder. I can't remember what it's called, but its initials are MG. And literally, she is allergic to exercise. The more she moves, her immune system will attack her muscles, including her heart. So she has to avoid moving very much. And she's not really that big. If you can, she's relatively normal size. Normal meaning average. Average meaning, the average somewhat chunky lady you see everywhere. If you can have a condition where moving makes your immune system want to kill you, and you can still maintain a weight that's not morbid obesity, I know that anyone can really do it. Anyone can at least be within reasonable levels.
So how does one look healthy? What does healthy look like? Skinny? Because that's not true.
So, okay. What does healthy look like? There's a lot of earmarks of health. So there is definitely a way to look at someone and see whether or not they're most likely healthy. And it's not just weight. Someone of what looks to be a normal body weight, someone with a reasonable amount of muscle definition, someone with skin clarity, and basically the better your complexion is, the more likely you are to be healthy. The nicer your nails look and the nicer your hair looks, these are all earmarks of health. Same thing with symmetry of facial features is a good indication that you're genetically healthy. So, and appearing more youthful has a better chance of you being healthy. So there is definitely something healthy looks like. And statistically, when you see someone who's youthful, has good skin, has good muscle mass, fat mass, isn't too skinny, isn't too thick or thin, looks like they're active, has good hair and has good nails, they are more likely to be healthy than not healthy. That's what I would say healthy looks like. And skinny, I also don't like them using the term skinny for normal or healthy sized people. They use skinny to mean not fat. And it's very strange to me too, because they sometimes even use skinny to mean not plus size, or what they would call small fat. Because I've heard size 10s and 12s being referred to as skinny. And they're not. They're sometimes if you're a size 10 and you're 4'11", there's a good chance you're even overweight. So it just bugs me. But skinny doesn't necessarily, if you're talking skinny as in skinny meaning you are the low end of healthy or possibly underweight, then I would say no. Skinny, I would say, does not mean healthy. Slim could mean healthy, but skinny, if we're using the connotations of negative connotation, some sort of little skinny mini, that usually means you could stand to put on a few pounds. So if you could stand to put on a few pounds, that would mean you're not healthy. I don't know. Maybe I read too far into things. But there's just a lot of things people say that language has a reason. There's a reason we say what we say and a reason we communicate the way we communicate. And I hate it when people try and zap value from words or try and reinforce or change the way we speak, because then we don't know what means what, because up can mean down, and brown can mean black. Who knows?
Just because a person is skinny does not mean they're healthy. But as far as like looking good, I mean, I look good. Yeah, I look good.
Beauty is subjective. She's not really my type, no, but I'm not gonna say she doesn't look good, because I'm pretty sure that there's somebody out there who finds her attractive. But here's the thing, I kind of agree with something the fat activists say, is we really do need to start divorcing beauty from health in this discussion. Like, beauty and health mean two separate things. Can you be fat and attractive? Yes, you can be fat and attractive. I've seen fat and attractive. And it's not healthy, though. There is a very big difference between attraction and health. Like they say, beauty is subjective.
My husband thinks so. But you're wrong. I actually weigh like 220. This would be 330 in pounds. And I just saw my doctor this last Monday. I calculated my BMI after the appointment just out of curiosity, and my BMI is 41. It is important to note that the BMI is an inaccurate and racist tool.
Yeah, there's that book, that book that they all say makes, I am not a literary major, or am I a historian, but from what I understand, the book isn't that good from people who have looked into it, but everybody's leeching onto it or latching onto it. There's a book out there called Fearing the Black Body that allows, like, really obese white women to say that saying that they're really obese is racist, because racism is rooted in, fat phobia is rooted in racism. It's not like every race can be fat. I think that there is, like, a predisposition to fat distribution being higher in Latinos and African Americans, Latinos and Latinas and African Americans. At least around the hips and such things, there's the denser bones and whatnots, but it only makes up a small amount, because you could also say that a BMI up to 25 and being healthy is racist, because most Asians should have a lower BMI than Caucasians and other races. So it's also weird, because we're all so mixed up, like, in race, that you can have a very white looking person with a very gigantic bone structure. Like, we are so muttly and mixed, like everybody's in nowadays. So it's just from family to family, like looking at your relatives, you can tell more or less what your bone structure is. And yes, there are people who are stockier than other people, but that's not the same as fatter. You're not stocky, you're not big bone meaning like naturally big hips and broad shoulders, and that's bones, not fat, my friend. But anyways, I don't think the BMI is as inaccurate as people think it is. If you're muscular, it can actually mean that you're more of overweight rather than obese, because sometimes, like, the doctors told me that they're not too worried about my weight, because I have a lot of muscle to me, so it puts me at more overweight than I actually am, because I've asked doctors, should I be concerned about my weight? And they've literally told me, I guess you are a little bit heavy, but you're not too bad. I wouldn't worry overtly if I were you. You could stand to lose a few pounds. So, it just depends on the doctor.
And guess what? My doctor says I'm healthy. And even if I was unhealthy, that doesn't mean that I would deserve harassment and mistreatment.
So, okay, how did your doctor say you were healthy? Did the doctor say, because the doctor even told me I could stand to lose a few pounds. There's a doctor like, oh, your lab work turns out okay, so right now you're healthy? Or did you ask, should I be concerned about my weight? And the doctor's like, nah, you fine. Because I doubt it's the latter.
Be fat phobic to assume that whatever health conditions I do have are automatically tied to my weight. But you in particular, you can suck it.
Okay, sorry about that. My throat's getting a little dry.
So how does one...
And with that, since my throat is getting dry, we're just gonna stop the video for now. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I wish all of you a pleasant rest of your day.